Very good evening to you. It's just gone 7 o'clock on Friday night, and you are tuned and watching the football pitch live on YouTube and listening back on obviously podcast wherever you're catching the show. Apologies that there was nothing last week. You can blame Storm Amy for that, or as Shug says, me no pay my internet bill, whichever it is. But it was Storm Amy that blew out my internet, and I wasn't wanting to take the chance and go on cellular. So that's why there was nothing last week. So apologies for that. So we will be looking back tonight at the European performances over the last couple of weeks. Obviously nothing this week, but the week before in terms of obviously Rangers, Celtic and Aberdeen. We will talk Scotland in terms of how they did last night, Scotland against Greece, and look ahead to the game next week as well. And obviously, I don't think we can let the Russell Martin at Rangers situation go untouched either. But first of all, we are joined tonight by, as always, my regular co-host, Dennis Newell, but we're also joined by Motherwell supporter, Hugh Toner. Good evening, Shug. How are we?
Good evening, Cammy and Dennis. I'm very well indeed.
Good. Motherwell had a great start to the season. Obviously came a wee bit of a shuddering halt last week, but up until then, and even last week, you played very well. But up until then, Motherwell's form this season has been exceptional, particularly that of your midfield.
I've said it since the Premier Sports Cup was in, and I've been slated quite a few times about it with some guys. We have got the best midfield in Scotland when Slattery's playing. You've got Slattery, Fadinger, and Watt in the middle of the park. And I think we've surprised a lot of teams this year as to how quick we move a ball. Our possession that we get compared to last year is, I think we had 69% possession previous game to Celtic, where last year it would have been vice versa. It's just the lack of scoring goals that gets us, but that will come. I don't have an issue with that. There are some scary moments when you find your goalkeeper standing on the actual centre circle, and you shout, get back. But these things happen. This is the way the manager wants to play. What a breath of fresh air. Brilliant the way he speaks about football, how he wants to play a game. And when he spoke last week on his way to Celtic Park, his words were, they will need to worry about us because we're not changing our style, how we will attack. And I think we've shown it. If Celtic couldn't make £20 million worth of subs, we would have won that game, apart from a goalkeeper mishap.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. Breath of fresh air.
Dennis, it is refreshing, as Shug says, to hear of a side and a manager saying, listen, we're going to go for it. We've sat here on this podcast several times since the start of the season and said neither of the old firm are up to much. You know, it's probably the poorest Celtic and Rangers sides we've seen, but it's still refreshing when you've got a manager of a provincial side in Motherwell saying that they're going to go to Celtic Park, not obviously Fir Park, but they're going to go to Celtic Park. They're not going to change the style of play, and they're going to go for it. You've been critical of Derek McInnes last season at Kilmarnock for trying to shut up shop and failing miserably. So to hear the Motherwell manager say something like that prior to a game, it is refreshing, particularly as he stuck to that as well.
Without doubt. I mean, one of the biggest problems I've always had with managers is self-preservation. I've repeated that many a time, that basically they're not actually looking about trying to win matches. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but they certainly don't want to be embarrassed by a heavy kicking going to the Old Firm. And as you rightly say, Derek McInnes has done it on numerous occasions, and it's just backfired. They've still been beaten 4-0 with trying to defend. The point is that what the Motherwell manager's actually seen just now is how poor the Old Firm are. And I've said this a few weeks ago, that basically any team in the Premier League should be having a go at Celtic and Rangers because they are absolutely dire at this moment in time. And by dire, I mean by their standards, right? By Premier League standards, they have just got an edge, maybe more than the rest, but they're there for the taking, maybe this season more than any I can ever remember. So the Motherwell manager's addressing it properly. He's going there and thinking, tell you what, they're not going to score 5 goals against us. Let's go and have a go at them. And that's exactly what Motherwell look like they're doing. And not just against the Old Firm. Motherwell's actually a wee bit more open play than maybe most teams have got at this moment in time. And although they've drawn, and I'm just looking at that there, they lost the last game, They won the one previous, and then it's been 4 draws before that. That's taken in the last half dozen games. So really, I think what needs to happen now is Motherwell needs to start picking up points, because although they're sitting in the middle of the table in 6th spot, I still think that they're better than that. They're better than that. I would say at this moment in time, they're probably better than Hibs, who are just below them in the same points, more or less. There's only a victory and a draw between the two of them. And certainly the teams that are below them, there's no reason why Motherwell can't finish in that top 6 at this moment in time, unless things change, which it did when we look at last year. We looked at Hearts and Hibs, who at this time last year were sitting rock bottom, the two of them. And then they ended up with a great run to the point that we predicted they wouldn't be at the bottom at the end of the season, which they weren't. But no, I think Motherwell started very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about that Betfred or Premier Sports Cup, whatever it was, sure. Obviously, it was the first game. I think he came up against Clyde, who doesn't have the ability, but obviously a 2-each draw. And I think that's probably one of Motherwell's poorest results and certainly poorest performances of the season. You know, the fact that a League Two side probably deserved certainly at least a draw against them, you know. So since that game, Escu's definitely turned things around. And yeah, you're picking up points, as Dennis says, but turning a few of these points, as you say, your problem scoring goals. So turning a few of these draws into victories can only be good for the Motherwell, and certainly pushing towards a very changed top 6 this season.
Oh, definitely. The problem I've had this year is we're 3-0 up against Hearts. Goalkeeper mistake. They make a couple of subs. They've got their backs up. They're on top. Goalkeeper mistake against Kilmartin, we're winning. Then the mistake on Saturday. So I have counted up. If it wasn't for a goalkeeper mistake, I don't think Celtic would have beat us on Saturday. If they hadn't got that second goal, they weren't going to. We might have got a draw out of it, but they definitely weren't going to beat us, because they were panicking. You heard the fans, you heard the supporters. They were getting on, and I think somebody got brought off, actually, one of the players, and they started booing. So I have to say, why are you bringing him off? So they weren't happy. So if you get, as Dennis says, I don't think they're any great shakes this year. Rangers have proved they're not any great shakes. Celtic aren't firing on full cylinders anyway. So if you get them this stage of the season, it's massive. But we've lost 7 points through goalkeeper mistakes this year, which is massive in a league, because those 7 points, if you go on a bad run and you can't, like we have done under Kettlewell, 17 games without a victory, those 17 games, those 7 points could be massive for us. I can't see he's doing that just because of the way we play. But I'm so positive this season. Just, you go to the game, and as I've always said, it's a game of entertainment. You're entertained with us just now. Whether it's edge of the seat stuff, oh no, look how far we're up the park, oh no, we're giving away ball. But we're giving away the balls because we're trying to press all the time. We're high pressing, we're high pressure, we're moving the ball quick. There's not a lot of players on that park takes 2 or more touches. 1-2, pass, 1-2, and the ball. Dennis will know this, so you know, Cammy, the ball moves quicker than you. So move the ball, not you. Plus we've got, I think we've got 7 players out just now. That's probably first team starters. Jordan McGee had an unfortunate injury, but he started. Slattery, hopefully, he's coming back straight away. And that brings Said off. Said's a young boy who we're trying to develop. He's done all right. He's done a good job for us, but he's no Slattery who will get up and down the pitch, who will put in the tackles, who will win free kicks. And I just think when we first started the season, that was the midfield: Slattery, Watt and Fadiga, and we were lightning quick, absolutely lightning. And you just thought, what a season we're going to have with those 3. But then you do need the depth of squad, which at the minute with 4 under-18s on the bench against Celtic. That's because we've got the injuries, but every team's got injuries, so you've got to just go with that. But yeah, I'm more than happy with how we've started and how we're going to get on through the season.
You must have been. Sorry, on you go, sir. Hey, Dennis, sorry, on you go.
How do you pronounce your centre forward's name?
Stamapalopatis.
Yeah,
or as we call him, Stam.
It's a mouthful.
You try and put letters on the back of the strip when you go into the club shop, that'll cost you more than the strip. Stamapalopatis. Aye, we call him Stam for short.
I think that's easier, isn't it?
I definitely think so.
He will score goals for us. He had a bad injury last year, but he will score goals because he gets himself in some positions. And you just think it will come. Once you get the one or two, you can see the relief, especially when he scored against Aberdeen. Then he scored the penalty, and you just seen the relief in his face after I'm on a run. He scored against Celtic, scored against the Celtic with the penalty as well. So he will go on a run, definitely. We will hammer a team this year, 5 or 6. Take 5 or 6 over a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, how much of a miss you're saying there? Your midfield's one of, if not the best, certainly one of the best in the Premier League. That would insinuate that you're not missing Lennon Miller. So he's gone to Udinese. That gives you £4 or £5 million in the bank. Does that give you the ability to go and strengthen that squad? You know, you're saying about depth. Does that give you the ability to go and do that in January?
Well, I think the manager's done really well with his recruitment just now. He's been really shrewd. And I know he wanted another 2 in the window there, and they couldn't get the deal over the line. So hopefully it might get back for them in January if these guys aren't playing elsewhere, if they're not getting the game time they're looking for. But if the manager keeps on doing what he's doing, he won't be with us long.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's always a problem.
I don't have an issue. See if you come and give me 100%, move on if you wish. But do it in the right way. Do it in the right way. Respect the club, respect the fans, respect yourself. But yeah, Lennon Miller's a big miss. But I think the way we've recruited, I mean, Fadinger, where we got him from, but that was Michael Wimmer that brought him in. And this boy came in, you think, just never stops.
Is he a free transfer?
Sorry, Dennis?
He's a free transfer.
He was a free transfer. Michael Wimmer brought him in before he left.
Yeah.
And that's what I says, where did we get him from? Because how come a club's bigger, not bigger, obviously bigger than us, but I'm talking about a bigger team in Europe and all that, picked him up. He's phenomenal. He just never stops. And what obviously was St Johnstone last year, the Burton Albion captain. He's just sits here and just sweeps everything up. Everything goes through him. Every single ball through midfield goes to his feet. Then he moves it about, and you can see the movement of other players. It's really good to watch.
And what about the boy Stephen Welsh that was at Celtic? You've got him in loan, haven't you?
Well, I obviously couldn't play on Saturday because he's playing the club, but that's what I'm saying. Well, he was missing Saturday, with Gordon missing on Saturday and Jordan McGee missing. So we get 3 missing for the back line. O'Donnell was on the bench. O'Donnell's a breath of fresh air this year. I don't know where he's got the confidence for his skill.
Yeah, I thought he'd done well last week.
Totally different as a player now. And I think the way the manager plays, he tends to say, right, I'm playing you the first 3 or 4 games. I'm going to bring you out, give this other guy, bring this other guy in, then give you fresh legs to bring you back on, to bring you on. It's really good how he's rotating the squad, and it doesn't affect us now. We actually think Johnny Kumbis plays the other right back. I think he's a better right back than O'Donnell, but O'Donnell's a great option just now. Last year, the fans really didn't like him. Really didn't like, because he was making costing us goals, but he's a breath of fresh air.
You know what? I think it's because the standards dropped, and that's not been disrespectful to him. I think it's easier for him now. We've been experienced, standards dropping slowly but surely, and it becomes more of a player because it's more a level playing field for him now. It was. I thought going out the door, I thought you'd really be struggling in the next 2 years to stay in the Premier League. But you're right. I thought he's been great.
Yeah. Well, they got that extension because Kettlewell put a contract where if he played so many games, he was getting a year extension. So this is his year extension he's got. But again, he's proven the extension was worth it for us because he's not made any mistakes just now.
Yeah.
So I can only say well done, O'Donnell. Aye. Yeah. For turning himself around.
Yeah. As I say, I think when we were talking earlier on last season, this kind of time last season, I thought he actually was a decent player for you. I'd seen him obviously in a couple of games, and I liked him. You know, obviously as a guy, a wealth of experience, and I thought he'd started the season quite well last season as well. Obviously his form did dip as you went further on in the season. But as I say, hopefully that doesn't happen this season. And as Dennis says, whether it's a drop in quality around the league that's seen his form pick up or whatever, I don't know. But hopefully he maintains that decent form for you.
The managers came in and gave him that little bit of confidence. Between him and Johnny, the two of them play right back, and the two of them are up and down the park all day. And I think it's a good competition for the two of them. Oh, I want to be playing this week. And the way the manager's handling the situation is brilliant, because you can actually see O'Donnell is probably playing with a bit of bounce in his game now. He's got that, like last year when he was making mistakes and that, you could see his head going down as if to say, I don't want to be here. I don't want to play. Take me off. But this year he's wanted to be playing all the time. He's wanted, and you see when he comes off, oh, I'm disappointed coming off here. But the fans are up applauding him, saying, what an effort you're putting in. He does put in some effort. I will give him that. He does put in a shift.
It's a bit unfair maybe for me to say the standards dropped and that's why he's playing well. You look at his Kilmarnock days and I thought he'd done a right good turn and he deserved at the time to be in the Scotland squad and the team. But he was a shadow of the player when he went back to Motherwell, and I think it was because players at that time were getting right good moves from Kilmarnock and moving to different places. And I think he felt he maybe should have got a big money move, so it would have been a nice handsome wage you would be having every week. We're going down south, and it never turned out. And I thought that was maybe the start of the decline. He maybe was feeling a wee bit left out that he never got that move. And I just feel that he was a shadow of the player he was at Kilmarnock when he moved on. But as you rightly say, he's came back and he's proven people that maybe thought, oh, you're not good enough now. He's doing it now, which is brilliant for him.
Definitely there is. I mean, guys running about me used to be shouting ball, and I'm thinking, why are we constantly shouting at the guy? The guy's obviously, you can see he's upset, you can see he's down, he's not got the confidence, and all you're doing is belating him, bringing him down again. Now, I only sit 6 rows back in the Cooper stand, so they can hear you. Of course they can hear you. Especially when the ball goes out right behind the goal and they're moving the ball, you can hear it. Especially the warm up right in front of you where I sit. And these guys are getting it, and I'm thinking, I don't even want to sit here next to you anymore. It's just embarrassing. And at that point, I started to come in later before the game started, so I couldn't hear that. So the warm up was done. The guys were away after they'd done the warm up, and these guys weren't shouting anymore because he was running right in front of them.
Well, he's still got a bit of life left in him yet. It's not as if he's going to grace. You could maybe get 3 years out of him at Motherwell, and if he keeps going, then
I honestly think we'll get this year out of him. I think he might move on. Okay. I honestly believe that because a couple of young boys coming through the youth team at the minute, and these young boys are big boys. They played, I think it was Larkhall Thistle, and the under 18s went out, and they were 3-0 up against Larkhall Thistle, experienced junior team. 3-0 up against them, and even Willie Percy says it. He was watching it, and he turned and says, the guys in the central defence battered the forward line. This is my ball, bang, boom, up. One of them scored the header. He goes, the guy jumped up higher, and I seen Ronaldo jump. He goes to win this header. Then Mullow made the subs and put the under 16s on, and they gave finish 3 each.
All right.
So just to give the boys, it's just to give the boys a run it. But
that's what it's there for.
Good couple of young boys coming through there now, which is really good to see.
Well, it's good to hear you talking so positively, obviously, about what's happening at Motherwell, and hopefully they can push on, maybe get towards a Europa League place towards the end of the season. And that brings us back on to, or right back to our next topic, Dennis. In terms, obviously, we were going to discuss it last week, but as I say, the fact there wasn't a podcast allows us now to look back at, again, another week, a couple of weeks ago, of disappointing European performances by all our clubs in Europe, or disappointing results. I don't think you would say the Aberdeen performance was disappointing, to go down 3-2 against a side of the pedigree of Shakhtar Donetsk. I don't think that was a disappointing performance. But Rangers, again, losing in Europe. Celtic losing in Europe. And really, our old firm is letting us down badly this season when we sang their praises so many times last year, Dennis.
Yeah, but what's happening is they're getting found out with a lack of quality. I mean, I'd have been very surprised if Celtic and Rangers had gone into Europe at the start of the month and came away with results. I just think to myself, well, they're not good enough. And it was proven that basically they just didn't have enough. And it goes without saying, you're going to get found out at some point. I mean, I felt Rangers last year had some really good results against very poor teams, which that's no Rangers' fault. But they did have some great results. But when you look at Celtic and Rangers, I'm just looking back through some of the fixtures there, some of the results I've had in Europe have been poor by their standard because they're not up against great opposition. And Rangers, I thought, were a bit embarrassing actually in Europe. And I don't think it helps when their supporters are already having made their mind up before they get into the stadium that they're not going to get anywhere, because I didn't feel there was encouragement there for the Rangers players, no matter how bad they are, because the venom was vented against the manager. And to be honest, he should probably have gone before then, so that people can then have a clear vision on what they're going to do, and that's to watch the football rather than have a go at the manager, which, as we know,
they've done at the start of the week for the international break, let's be honest, but that's something we can discuss later on.
Yeah.
That's been for the international break. But no, I mean, you're right. To get down against Belgian opposition again, this time in the shape of Genk. Okay, they played much of the game with 10 men. But again, very, very disappointing result for them. Aberdeen, disappointing result, a much, much better performance and a vastly improved performance, which obviously took into the league for them last week against Dundee. And Celtic, what can you say, Shug, about VAR and the Celtic handball that, Christ, I was closer to handling that ball than what the Celtic striker was.
You have got to question, what are they seeing?
Yeah.
What did they actually physically see that they can say it's off? VAR takes far too long. Far too long, in my opinion. I mean, you've seen some ones that it's like 2 and 3 minutes. You're like, how can they have a look? Yeah, this is what I see.
Yeah.
Take my 3 looks if you need. Then you get 3 eyes on it. But it takes far too long. Ludicrous decision. But the problem is, it's not consistent. Nothing is consistent through the game. You sometimes get a handball, then the next game, or the game on the same night down the road, isn't a handball. It is a handball.
Yeah.
You really need to be consistent. This rule they've got, if it hits off you, hits your hand, it's not a penalty. But it hits off somebody else and hits your hand, it's a penalty. You're like, what's the difference if you're half a yard away? You can't physically move your hand. That's the problem I've got with the problem I've got with VR. I don't have an issue with it, but as long as it's done correctly.
Yeah, but the problem is, so I see it twofold with this. One, when you've got officials, either pundits or whatever else, I think they should be qualified to be doing it. I'll drift away to something else, which relates to it, of being qualified to make judgments. And then I don't get into a maternity ward and start telling females about the fact of what childbirth's like, because I'll never experience it, I hope. Now, Cammy's eyes are going, where's he going with this? It's the same, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing if you put a female in a male environment of football. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not qualified to do it. Scotland team had it last night where the female was standing there on the touchline and she's talking as if she'd been in that park playing with the guys.
Aye.
And I'm sorry, it doesn't work for me on that front. So, you look at it and you say to yourself, why do we not have 3 guys? Because it's a male thing. And then you look at, that's, what would you say, without drifting too far away from the original question, is that what we really need is to make sure that people are qualified to be actually doing that. And that takes us to VAR. So we've got it when it comes to accommodating people, because it's right. You need female. I don't mind the female presenters who are asking the questions and all that. That's great. But when you start having them as pundits and making opinions on guys that are playing, that's the statement I'd make on that. And it's the same thing, now I'm getting there, in the VAR studio. They're not qualified to do that. How many of them have played top flight football? I reckon they're probably none of them. I'd love to be proven wrong here, but I don't think there's any of them. There'll be guys that have came along, oh, we're looking for a VAR, somebody to do VAR that can sit in a room and watch a TV screen. Wait a minute. The days are not here yet, where everything is ruled by a computer screen. But they're trying to get it that way. And what you're talking about with the handball there, Hugh, I have not got a clue now of what is actually the decision on a handball in the box. Because I know for a fact, if a ball's hit at pace, there's no way you're getting out the roadie that with your arm, no matter what you try. Your arms are connected to your body, and unless you deliberately put a hand out like that to stop it, that's a deliberate handball. If you're there and the ball hits you and you've no way to respond, that's never a penalty. But for some unknown reason, these guys that are sitting in that room are not qualified in my eyes. they've been given a rule book and they've been shown videos and videos and they've gone over it for hours and hours and hours. It still doesn't make them understand that you can't get out the road of the ball. It's not
That's
a deliberate
rule
handball.
makers. That's not the guys who are judging VAR. You know, that's whoever is making up the rules for this season. You know, or whatever else. That's them.
And VAR, I've always said it as well, just like Dennis is saying there. Yes, have your VAR guy sitting your referee, but have an ex-professional footballer there who's played the game, who can turn around and say, wait a minute, that is a natural body position, because if I turn, my arms don't stay there. One arm is going to go there because my weight's carried forward that way. My hand's going to go, my leg's going to sit here. So that's my issue. They don't want to listen. It's just, no, it's a wee close shop. These referees, you do on VAR, you tell him what you want to tell him. That's it. You should have an ex-pro there who's played at the real level, not junior or amateur, at professional level, at high level, I would say.
When you guys played football,
the level of the football match, that's it.
But Dennis, when you played football, handball was handball. You had none of this natural hand position, natural body position, arms by your side or whatever else. You touched the ball with your hand, it was a penalty kick. Shug, it was probably the same when you were playing amateur football as well. You know, you touched the ball with your hand, it was a penalty kick. Right, so you were allowed to, maybe. But as I say, the guys in front of you, if they're touching the ball with their hand, it's a penalty kick. We're overcomplicating things. Like we've done with offside. Like we've done with handball.
They're trying to find an excuse. Want to give a penalty, to chop a goal off.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're trying to kill the game.
Yes, they're looking for it. And it's like, you can't, when I'm in the stadium and you score a goal, you're like, right, was you offside? Can you celebrate until you get the, you're like, oh, yes.
In other words, you can't celebrate, which is what the whole game is about. Entertainment, celebrating your team scoring a goal. You shouldn't have an anticlimax with the fact that somebody in a room has made the decision, no, that's a handball. If I look back to when I was playing, and it doesn't matter what level you're playing, whether it's with a pub team or top flight, and referees were just saying it's a handball back to the days, there was very few grey areas because you could see it. It's there. And at your side, how far does your arm need to come up? How much does your body? These guys don't know about twisting and turning in your arms. I said to Cammy about 9 months ago, the person that actually breeds a footballer with no arms will make millions. So it really is. It's a bit of a joke. I like the idea of VAR, but we're back to the traffic warden scenario. They're reading a rule book. They're spending too long, as you rightly say, next year, because they don't know any better. They're continually looking to make sure that the point that they've pulled the play up for is going to be carried out. In other words, it's destructive to the game. The amount of good moves and matches, and they go back maybe 3 stages and go, oh, it's a foul away back up the park.
I was about to say that. That's my main point. They go back to that third phase. You're like, it was 3 phases.
I think it's destroying the game to the point that you can't enjoy it, as I've already said. You can't celebrate immediately after it without a big disappointment, maybe 3 minutes later. And that's just ruining the game. Or if you
do celebrate, you're getting that disappointment 2 or 3 minutes later when VAR turns in and says it's not a goal. You know, and that's the thing. To me, handball's handball. I've always believed that, you know, irrespective of whether your hand's up here, out by your side, down by your arms, if you're handing the ball and altering the path of the ball, that's a penalty kick to me. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, if the path of the ball alters, that's what it should be about. You know, so if you're Dennis playing a pass through to Shug, and I stick my hand out, or my hand's by my side, and it alters the movement of the ball, Shug can't get the pass, so it's a penalty kick because whether it's deliberate or not, I've denied Shug a goal scoring opportunity. You know, so to me,
Cam, even that's a penalty kick. Area. No, but that's a grey area. If I'm standing, without standing up just now, standing his arm, and Shug fires a shot in at me and it hits my arm and deflects away for the goals, that's not penalty. I can't do anything with my arms. They're stuck to me. So if my arm changes the direction of the ball, I'm sorry, but that's a bad shot because you should have avoided me in the first place. And my arms shouldn't be a reason for you to get a penalty. Surely that's the case.
But it's I don't know. So then you turn around and go back to deliberate handball or not, and you're
But
then
that's not
thrown in
deliberate.
grey areas again. No,
But
that's what I mean. So you're then thrown in grey areas again.
No, what you've got to say is, did that person that has hit the ball with his arm, right? Did he intentionally go towards the ball to prevent it going in the net or whatever he's trying to do? Has he prevented what the player that's taking the shot has done? That's what you've got to decide. And unfortunately, we'll get back to the beginning of this again. They are making mistakes because they don't understand how the body moves and how you can't get your arms or hands out the road. So that's the biggest problem I've got with VAR, I think. The line where they actually somebody's toe can be over, I still find sometimes that's a wee bit disruptive, because I see some magnificent goals and I look and I think he wasn't really interfering with play. And why have you chalked it off because he's got half his toe hanging over the line? He was never ever going to get to that ball and beat the defender anyway. So no, VAR needs to really look at.
Let's bring it back to the Celtic game, which is where all this started. Yep. He didn't whether or not he didn't handle the ball anyway. That brings it back to the whole thing. You know, we're debating here what should be a penalty if he handles the ball, if he doesn't handle the ball, if it's deliberate, if it's not. But the Celtic player was through in goal and didn't handle the ball and had the goal chopped off. You know, so that's where that debate started from initially.
Here's a question for you. The Rangers and Hearts game where Shankland actually scored the goal and says, that hit my arm. He physically said it, then he said in his interview. But because when that phase of play happened, the defender got a touch on the ball, so that was the phase of play starting again. So that didn't come in it. But wait a minute, the proximate cause of going up there was him handballing it and going forward with the ball. So this is where the problem is. But again,
it's an area that needs thrashed out to let the normal person that's watching the game enjoy it more. I think that's what we're going to look at. It's all about enjoyment, and I don't think there's a lot of enjoyment when there's errors there and you're scratching your head saying, how did they arrive at that? And that's what I find 50% of their actual challenges on this. When he goes over to the screen, it's not a decision he's made. It's the guys in that room that's made the decision.
I've only seen one referee change a decision, just say, no, I'm sticking to my guns. This is a decision I'm going by. You thought, well done for you actually stick to it.
Yeah. Right. And that's why I'd rather watch football at lower levels where you don't need to worry about VAR and you can just heckle the referee for making a crap decision. I'm not so much heckling, but you know what I mean.
Cammy, if I had my way now and it was me making a decision, I would rather spend that kind of money educating the referees to the game more individually and put up with it than having VAR. I'll be honest with you, because I've seen some cracking goals getting chalked off because somebody's just stepped over the line and you would never have noticed it in normal play. But because VAR's there, they look at every single nut and bolt with it, just determined to say, oh no, that was too good a goal, we need to chalk it off. That's cynical, but at the same time, it sounds like that.
Sorry, Shug.
It was a Crystal Palace when they were playing Chelsea.
Against Chelsea. First game of the season.
And all the guy done was stood in the ball, spun round. The defender went down, he went through, and he scored a cracking goal. It's the same before. Scored an absolute peach of goal. If they go, oh no, it's a free kick. They're like, he's sold the defender a dummy. That's all he's done.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. You know.
That's why he's ruining the game.
Yeah. As you say, Dennis, you either educate the referees or look again back to the old chestnut of trying to recruit former professionals. You know, and a former professional doesn't need to be a big name. It doesn't need to be a Gary Neville. It doesn't need to be a Jamie Carragher or a guy who are doing the pundits. You can be looking at guys who were lower down the leagues. You know, guys who played League One, League Two, who played Championship in Scotland or First Division in Scotland, or League One or whatever else, you know. So I think people forget when they say, but all these football players made fortunes, so they're not going to be interested in getting something back. If you're looking at a guy who's made maybe £400 or £500 a week part-time or full-time at a lower level, I'm quite sure he'd be interested in becoming a referee if that option was there to fast-track former professionals to
the only thing I would
games.
give with that, Cammy, is that you would need to extend the years that the referees have got, because to commit yourself to get in there and be refereeing, and you would take abuse. you fast track, you've really got to cut your teeth. I don't think you
No,
could fire
no.
somebody in after a month or two into their top flight matches, like even the second division. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, because listen, I done one of your reserve games one night when I was at Albion Rovers against the first team. I vowed I'd never do it in my life again. It was horrendous. I'm not saying I was horrendous. I thought I was okay, but I'll tell you what, the abuse I got, unbelievable. And I thought, now I've got sympathy for referees. It's just a bounce match at the club. And I'm thinking, no, it's not for me, because I'll tell you what, you have to be thick-skinned, be able to put up with the language and abuse you get, and also be able to try and concentrate on the job. So I'll defend referees, but I would throw everything at them to make them better. And the one thing I would do is make them full-time. Definitely would make them full-time in Scotland without a question of doubt, and try and get the best out of it. Because I now think that VAR has taken over too much of a referee's influence in the game now, that every decision, it needs to be checked. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, get the game going. You don't need to stop it for this. But you have to educate them. You have to spend the money on them. And I'm all for that now that I've seen VAR. And I'm sure you could still use it for some technology, but not at the level that we're doing now. It's dissecting the game far too much.
Goal line stuff, and that's about it. That's as far as I'm concerned. But hey, anyway, not to worry.
That's it. Goal line and penalties.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't anything else. That's it. That's only.
Yeah.
And it has to be a clear and obvious error. No, just look at it to make.
That's the thing that annoys me.
If the referee's not seen it, that's fine. If he's seen it and thought, no, get up, don't bother.
Yeah, 100%, because too many referees now are having stuff overruled.
The referees get refereed by VAR.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I'm, as maybe you know, I am a qualified referee, believe it or not. I have passed the referee's course. And I was going to say, and you'll be the same. But the caveat was always in the opinion of the referee.
Aye.
And that was it. And to me, that's now been taken away with VAR. And we need to get back to this in the opinion of the referee stuff again. But there we go. Anyway, moving on. What do you want to do? Rangers, Russell Martin, or Scotland?
Russell Martin we can get into, because obviously it's a key topic that took a long while to resolve itself. I just can't figure out the whole system in Rangers, and the manager's obviously the whipping boy. And on this occasion, it was a bad appointment. I said it for day one. It was a bad appointment. He was coming up here. He doesn't know the Scottish game, and we're still maybe going to have the next person that comes in the same. So I just look at it and say to myself, I said at one point, maybe at the time when we were starting to debate whether he was fit for the job or fit for the purpose that was there, that you've got to start looking at how you fix it. Now I'm saying, who do we blame for it? Because the amount of money that Rangers have spent, they've brought in 13 players, right? They bring a guy in, and I'll try and pronounce his name. Is it Shermiti? Centre forward, they got him for Everton.
Yeah.
Right.
8 million.
£8 million. Now, I checked on his goal scoring, and I think since 2021, he scored 5 goals.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I look at it and I go, wait a minute. Who in the boardroom's sitting there and saying, when you've not got a lot of money, this guy, I've seen him, we can get him for Everton, brilliant. Okay, what's his background? Now, I went in and checked it, and I looked at it and I go, are you having a laugh? You're putting this guy here, we've already got rid of Dessa, right, who could score goals, but missed more than the chances he got. This guy can't score goals, and you're wanting to pay £8 million for him. Are you having a laugh, son? No, he'll do a job for us. Yeah. Who bought into that? Who actually bought into it?
It was the same executive that took him to Everton that then took him to Ibrox. So
you say to yourself, who at Ibrox is accountable for this kind of spending of money? That basically, was it one person and the rest of the boardroom were away having a beer or something. You've surely sat around the boardroom and spent £8 million in one player and had a long debate. I know if our company was spending that kind of money, we spend hours doing it. Yeah. Hours doing it. Now, it takes me 5 minutes to look at this boy's stats, and I don't care. There's no way in this planet I'd have spent $8,000 on him, never mind 8 million.
8 million, yeah.
And I think that is shocking business. Now, that's not the manager. He's just, well, I'll take him. I think you take anything, Russell Martin, to be perfectly honest, the way he was going. But for them to actually sanction the £8 million, I go, no, there's somebody in that boardroom needs to get a look at themselves and be out the door, because they know nothing about football. Because the last thing they needed was a guy that couldn't score goals when Desser was away in Eagleman, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was never a big fan of them because, rightly so, they're not there now. And the bottom line was they missed too many chances, right? You've got to bring in somebody that's better. They haven't.
Yeah.
They haven't. So that for me was something that Russell Martin has to take the can for. If you look at the 13 players he's brought in, the wee lad that plays out on the left side is...
Gassman.
Gassman. That's it. Yeah. He came for Sheffield Wednesday and he was £2 million, right? He's the only one out of the 13 that I have actually seen. And he started off like a house on fire. And I said that at the beginning when we were talking about the new signings at the start of the season. I said, well, there's a wee lad plays in the wing. I said, I'll give him a couple of games to see how he settles in. He went into the wilderness. Now he's back in, but I'll tell you what, he looks decent. And if the right manager comes in, he'll be a contribution. But where do you start if you come in there as a manager now? Because you've just bought, well, I would say 12 duds that are not going to win you the Premier League. And that's the problem. There is nobody in that Rangers team. I think I would probably keep 4. The goalkeeper, Suter, right? Fullback.
Tav. You still keep Tavernier?
Yes. Probably a boy that is an honest going forward. And how long has he been at the club? Maybe 10 years or something like that?
Yeah.
No manager has taught him how to defend in all the years. He can't defend, but you can get away with him. So I'd keep him. And then the wee guy up front, Gassama. That's all I would keep. The rest could go. Now, if you're the next manager coming in, you're not going to turn that round. That won't beat even Motherwell at this moment in time, Hugh. That Rangers team. And again, that's not having a dig at Motherwell. The bottom line is you're expecting Celtic and Rangers to be better placed every match. You should be going saying, well, the games will win. That's not going to be the case with that squad. They will lose more than they'll win.
How they couldn't beat Genk is unbelievable. That was the worst team. Yeah. Now, you're saying, Gassman, he was down the left-hand side and he annihilated that right back.
Yes.
But he stopped giving him the ball. You're like, he's running past the body, he's got him booked. So keep on running at him. He'll get something. Not switch the play, we'll go over the other side. Now, I've said it as well. See if I'm the players on that park, especially Tavernier. I'm the captain of that team. This isn't working. I played with Jim Weir before he went on to Hearts and St Johnstone. Jim Weir was my centre half. Him and John McKinstry, Stuart McKinstry's dad, played with Motherwell. And the two of them could head the ball further than I went on holiday. That's how... And they made sure they were winning that ball. See if something wasn't happening on the park. They're the ones that's getting, right, you're here, you're there, do this. And they used to... And I did hear him saying it one day. F the manager, I'll deal with him. You're doing this. I'm the captain of this team. I want you here. You're doing this. And that's what I say to the Rangers supporting pals. I say to them, why is Tavernier doing that? Just saying, I've already disagreed with him. He'll go before I do, put it that way. Because if the results don't happen, he's gone. But I'm still here. I'm the captain. I've got a wee bit of pride in this game. I want to win this. And I don't see that in Tavernier. I don't see him as a captain. No,
I would agree with you on that. I would agree with you on that. Yeah. I'm looking at, and sentiment now doesn't really come into it. I'm looking at somebody that, without wiping the whole team out, you look at it and say, who could you keep? And I think at this moment in time, Tavernier is probably, well, I don't know, maybe just one of the ones you would say, well, you might get a wee bit more out of him if you try and educate him how to defend. Because I'll tell you what, there was a couple of seasons there, and they relied on him for everything. Free kicks, goals coming up the park. So you can't write that off. That can still come back with him. And just tidying up his defensive qualities, I think he's still worth keeping, right? Suter's much a muchness. He is a centre half. Put somebody else with him. The big lad that plays beside him there is just embarrassing. He shouldn't have been a Rangers strip. The goalkeeper who they were wanting to hunt out the door, I heard in the radio station last year when he had a poor game in Europe, he should never be allowed into Ibrox again. And I'm saying to myself, that's the kind of supporter that hasn't got a clue what they're talking about. The boy's world class in it. And he's saved Rangers I don't know how many times. So, you know, and then as I said, the wee fella up front, getting the right people around about him, he might turn out to be something that would be good for Rangers. But the rest...
Yeah, I think you've got Rascan and you've got Finlay Curtis as well. I like Rascan and I like the boy Curtis, the young boy, Scottish boy. He looks decent.
I don't know how he's not got a game. The boy he's got a heart of a lion, you could honestly say, and he would run through a brick wall for you, and that's what you need in the team. That's what you need. Please, Mike,
the boy Curtis has got a future. Yeah, he's homegrown. I'm just looking at the ones he brought in.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Dennis, I think it's very, very difficult to judge that Rangers squad, you know, because the manager was a dud, you know, and I think you need to look at it like that, you know. I mean, Shug's saying about the improvement in Motherwell, that's where still a few of the squad for last year that Kettlewell couldn't get a tune out of, you know, that Vimmer did no bad with, you know, but obviously you get a new manager and you turn things around. I still think you need to give some of that squad a chance because I think there is but the boy committee, I agree with you in that one. You know, the striker, if you get a striker that scored 5 goals, you're getting 8 million quid or Everton are stealing 8 million knicker off you, then that's fair enough, you know. But I think it's very, very difficult to judge that Rangers squad because I think, and that comes for the manager, because I don't think we're going to tune out any of them. I don't think they were playing for him. I think there was disagreements, obviously, in the dressing room. But it's blatantly obvious, you know. So you give a new manager that squad and see what he can get out of it before you then make it wholesale changes. I don't think the club can afford to make wholesale changes on the park anyway, you know. So whoever comes in has got to try to make the best out of what they've got, and then if it doesn't work, they see who they can move on in the summer, if anyone, and take the hit. And I think you'll find the 49ers board or the 49ers will need to learn from this, you know, and get back to the days of Eddie DeBartolo when he just bought the 49ers, you know, and he made his appointment in a 15-minute interview for his first coach. And I think Rangers, 9 interviews, I think Martin had, you know, and they still appointed him. So they've made major, major mistakes there. And I think that they need to get back to what the 49ers themselves were good at when it comes to American football. And as I say, that was making appointments, getting coaching appointments right. And they've got a tradition and a history of doing that. The other side in the sport I follow, and I think obviously that if they get the right appointment and he can work with a squad of players, you might see Rangers pushing on to challenge Motherwell and Hearts and Hibs for a European spot in the Europa League or something like that, or the Conference League.
I honestly can't see it. And Everton, I believe, are naming one of the new stands Rangers because they've paid for one of the ends with 8 million quid they got for him. So it will only be a matter of time before you see if somebody can then come in and work miracles with them. Rangers need it. There's no question of doubt. They really need to get some luck somewhere along the line. You know, the other thing that would worry me is if Gerrard comes in, look who he brought in with him. Beale.
He won't bring him back.
No. By the way, I was hearing an interesting wee rumour, and I think it's actually doing the rounds on social, Dennis, which obviously means you won't have seen it. One of the coaches is apparently looking at is Billy Reid.
Is he? Who?
Apparently so.
Gerrard.
Apparently Billy Reid is rumoured to be one of the coaches that he's looking at, and I think that's on a number of forums. So I'd be surprised at that one, to be honest, you know. But I think the rest of the coaches he's looking at are Rangers men or Rangers men who've been at the club, you know, players who've been at the club. But as I say, Billy Reid's name came out of nowhere, so I'd be very surprised knowing what we know.
I think they actually made they have made a backside it, haven't they? They made a mess of it. I would have went with Barry Ferguson a year rolling contract. For the simple fact,
that's hindsight, though, Hugh. That's hindsight.
That's what I would have. I even says at the start, I couldn't understand why they didn't. No, Ferguson, right? You've had some bad results. Maybe that's the players. Go and have a year out it. Let's see what we can do in two windows. Because even Ferguson said himself, He was brought in, the first person he brought in as a freebie in Shankland, because Shankland will score you goals. The amount of service Rangers would have gave him, he will score goals. Then we bring in, I think it's Mulligan who went to Hibs.
Mm-hmm.
He says we bring him as well, and somebody else come in, the other one we bring in. So the 3 Scottish players are in straight away before he then looks out. He says we bring back Tierney as well. So there's your 4, you think. So he's already had a plan to put into place. That would have cost him 4 million. It would have cost him any more than 4 million.
Yeah, that's one leg at the centre.
That's a bit, but then you can go and build the other ones round about that. The other ones are there. I mean, I was speaking to Andy Devlin during the week there, only because he was up visiting his pal, which obviously only stays a wee bit away from me. And I've known Andy for years. And I says, what's the rumours at Ibrox? And he says that Mikey Moore has to play a certain amount of games and a certain amount of minutes.
Well, that would be understandable. He's not coming up for London to just
they're not sending him up
jerseys.
Just to go.
I would put that in agreement as well. If you're wanting them, then you need to justify us letting them go.
You don't bring him up to sit on the bench, 100%.
Apparently, the reports I've got from my friends that are Tottenham supporters saying he's excellent, but he's coming into a right bad team that he doesn't look as if he knows what he's doing. The boy, it just looks as if you've got a team there, and as much as Russell Martin, I'm sure, worked his socks off trying to get things right. You've got to be a fit for Rangers and Celtic, right? We've heard this all the time. He wasn't a fit, and he couldn't get players to gel for whatever reason. My reason behind it is I don't think they're good enough, right? Mm-hmm. And that's going back to what we're talking about. The next manager coming in, you just can't do it. I was at East Stirling, right? There was never any way we were going to compete against Gretna. Didn't matter whether Paul Daniels and Richard Branson had come in. That was never going to change. And it's the same with Rangers. You're left with that particular amount of players. You can't really do anything unless you throw them out the door and you start afresh and throw money at it, because they're not good enough. And if they're not good enough, you can be the best manager in the world. You won't make 1 iota of a difference. And that's my thoughts on Russell Martin as far as getting him to play. But Russell Martin has signed these players, so he's as much to blame because he thinks they were good enough.
Has he signed them, or is it the director of football that signed them?
Well, he said that, he's got to have said, give it the okay, surely. Otherwise, you throw them under the bus when you're getting bad results, because I'd be doing that.
Well, they did throw them under the bus, that's the thing.
Not to the level he's saying that no, I'll never get out of this hole because I've been left with a load of rubbish.
He never wanted to get Everton player put upon him with Thelwell. Thelwell brought him in because he was with Everton. I know this guy, so he brought him in. But again, you're right, he's brought in Max Aarons, who's came from Bournemouth and done absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. I think for a player who's played the Premiership, you think about a little bit better what you are just now, what you're showing. Yeah.
As I say, I think the manager's got a lot to answer for, in terms of the ability of that squad of players. I definitely think there is that as well. But that remains to be seen in terms of who they bring in. But he was unceremoniously hunted out the door by the Rangers support. Obviously, what happened at Falkirk on Sunday, I think it's an embarrassment to Rangers Football Club. I think it's an embarrassment of how he was, irrespective of the fact that he was making it was a shit show at Ibrox, irrespective of that, I think the fact is he was unceremoniously hunted out the door by a support who were very, very frustrated. But the treatment that they gave him is something that no human being should have to suffer. Shug, your club was tarred by a brush by the media last season in terms of the alleged Motherwell supporters' abuse of Stuart Kettlewell.
Yeah.
And the media took the supporters to task. No one, from what I have seen on social media, on mainstream media or anything else, has taken a Rangers support who treated the manager abysmally to task.
I would even put out there, Rangers Football Club has not come out and condoned it, which says it all to me.
Condemned it, yeah.
They've not condemned it. So you have to go and look. I've said before that Motherwell fans get hounded and we get branded. We are this fans who again, I say every single time I speak to MD, the media darling of football, Kettlewell. The media, Mark Goody says, I know him personally, he starts at 7 in the morning, finishes at night. I says, Aye, good. I can sometimes finish at 5 and finish at 6. Does that mean that I can do whatever I want? No, it isn't. So it's just one of these things that we get hounded. We have never found the guy who allegedly shouted stuff to Kettle, and I don't condone it. I'm not here saying it was right what the guy done. If the guy said anything, but allegedly it was done straight in front of the directors. So why is one of the directors not stood up? Why is the steward round about there not stood up and says, step to the side? Because there's 2 police stand at the director's box as well. And nothing's happened. Nothing's come out. But onto the Rangers fans, and again, we're tarring the full Rangers base with this.
Yeah. Apologies for that one.
What we're looking at, no, you're right in what you were saying, Cammy, but we don't want to tar all the Rangers fans with this because well, everybody wanted him out. They didn't even want him in the first place because he didn't wear a suit and a shirt or tie when he was in dugout. That's because it's tradition for 140 years or something like that. So, but the Rangers fans have got to take a hard look at themselves and say, why are we doing this? He's a human being. He has a life. He has a family.
Yeah. But Hugh, I'll interrupt you.
Yes.
That same human being was clocked on the Monday down at Luss at Loch Lomond, going for a swim in Loch Lomond with his girlfriend, and the Daily Mail published the pictures of the 2 of them, and it looked as if he didn't give a damn. He's smiling, he's chirpy, everything that you would say, that's the last thing you should be doing. One, I wouldn't be here if I was him.
Yeah, but what's up with him getting out?
Why?
He's not a job anymore.
It looks as if he wasn't bothering, and yet Hugh's saying he's a human being. Well, he's brushed it aside. He's brushed it aside, though.
That still doesn't give a member, football fans the right to abuse him, whether he doesn't look as if he cares or not. I'm
only taking that point, Cammy, that there is another side to him that nobody should be given that abuse, right? Absolutely nobody. But what I'm saying to you is, he must be a wee bit thick-skinned to think, it's gone now, and I'll just go on with it.
Well, he's definitely thick-skinned because he wasn't prepared to change anything.
No.
That was his attitude. You could tell the man was arrogant, how he spoke, how he used to put down the players. You think, no, you're trying to back up your players. Take a wee bit of responsibility. You're the one who puts the players out. You pick a team. You put the tactics out. I mean, his tactics against was Braga. You think you're getting beat 9-1 in aggregate here? Just try and shut up shop, change things about a bit. I even says for the second leg of Braga, I would have put Tavernier on their captain. Go for it at the back and put Tavernier in the middle of the park because that captain ran the game. Ran the
show. Put him in the goals. I just put him in the goals. It's less space.
Probably 5 or 6 saves that night. Otherwise, it was going to be 10, 11, 12 in the aggregate.
It could have been. Yep. Yeah. But I think whoever gets the job has got a really hard job coming up because of the players that they're being left with. And if I was Steven Gerrard, the first thing I would ask for is not even so much what my salary was. That'd be top right enough. But I'd say, secondly, I'm not going to come here and end up with a banana skin. What are you going to give me in the window? Because I've looked at some of these games, and I'll tell you what, you need to get rid of at least half of that squad before I can come in here and do anything with it. If he comes in and keeps the same squad, I think it'll be foolish. And if he does do well with them, he's a magician. And I don't think he is that.
No,
I think he's a normal guy that's a decent manager, but I don't know who could come in and make that squad better. I just don't know. I hope it happens, but I can't see it. Not with that original squad. And I think they need to bite the bullet until January and the window opens. And that's quite a long way off. And there's a lot of points can disappear between now and then.
There's a question for you. If you're a manager looking for a position, looking for a job, there's a Rangers job up. Knowing what happened to Russell Martin, is that an incentive for you to take that job? Or you think, I'm not going to that. That's
sure, it's not what happened to Russell Martin. That was self-inflicted.
Yes, but I'm saying
self-inflicted. He's been allowed to sign 13 players, and none of them are, bar one that I see, is fit for purpose.
But that's what I'm saying, Dennis. But his treatment he had off the fans.
Well, that's not acceptable. It's a game of football.
But that's what I'm saying. But would a manager then say, "Oh, I'm going to go to that football club. Look how the fans are."
But that's the point I'm making. If you have got to actually work with a squad of players, and you've seen the outcome from what you might think in your eyes, say it's Gerrard, and he thinks, I thought Russell Martin done a good job when he was at Southampton getting them up, which he did. Then you say to yourself, well, how am I going to be any better than him when I go to Ibrox with these same players? And then I would question the sanity of it. And that's why I say the first thing I'd ask for is, right, this might not work out. A lot of points will disappear. What you give me to get that window opened and get players in here. And I'd tell them what players I'd be looking for on the back of that, because if you are out of a job or you're still in a job, you're networking all the time. You know players that are available and
you do, yeah.
who you think you would like to bring in. You would have maybe half a dozen players. But then again, you've got a boardroom that doesn't know the back for the front because they don't know good players. It's proven. But if Steven Gerrard, as an example, comes and says, there's 10 players there and I need £30 million, they'll likely go, aye, all right. They haven't got a clue whether they're any better than the ones that have just been in, because it's proven that they're given, as we repeat over and over again, £8 million for a guy that can't score goals.
Yeah,
so the boardroom is a big problem. Now that the manager is away, Rangers have got a big problem with that boardroom. They're no fit for purpose. And any business, if they're run like them, would go down the toilet after a year.
Yeah. As I say, I can only see once the proper 49ers people get on board, if they do, that might well be an improvement. But again, they're going to need to get in soccer people, and I'm saying that obviously because of the 49ers is the American football. But as I say, they need to get the proper people in place. Thelwell, I don't necessarily think is the right person. Certainly, I don't know about his son, who I think got an appointment as well. So you just wonder. Nepotism.
But
sorry,
listen,
Sean.
Cammy.
I says, bring in your son, give him a job at Rangers. What's he actually done?
But you know something? We've sat and spoke about Rangers and had a dig at them. You know something? Celtic are no far behind them.
Nope.
And Brendan Rodgers and his cronies, if you want to call them that, are getting away with murder because Rangers are that bad.
Yeah.
Absolute murder.
Yeah.
And, at the Flex, they probably could be sitting, not listening to us, but listening to a similar setup where people are having a right go at Rangers, and he'd be sitting there quite smug when in actual fact they deserve the same amount of airtime to get battered as Rangers have, because they're as bad. They are as bad, and they've got away with it because just that slight bit of a difference because of the manager leaving at Ibrox. That's the only reason why they've not got the airtime.
I agree with you. They've got off lately due to the situation at Ibrox, because if you go look at Rodgers and one of his interviews, Adam Maeda is not leaving here until we get a replacement in. And then he's sold and they don't have a replacement. Then about 2 or 3 weeks later, and they bring a free transfer.
Yeah. But why does that boy not want to be here? I question that. We Kyogo went, and I liked him, and you've heard me rattling my gums about the boy. He should never have left, right? Now, whether he was friendly with him, I don't know, right? But for some unknown reason, Rodgers seems to be not the flavour of the month with these Japanese boys, or Kyogo as well. We leaving. I can't get my head around why the boy wants to leave. I just can't get my head around. He was outstanding. He was the best player in Scotland by a mile last year. Now he's a shadow of himself.
Aye.
A shadow. I mean, he scored a good goal last week, but I look at it and I go, you're still not the player you were last year.
Well, Mai just turned around and says that it was his decision to stay. He didn't want to leave.
Yeah, but where did it all come from? Was it just maybe tongue-in-cheek he said that?
I don't really believe that myself. Why make all that noise? Ready to move, then say, no, I chose to stay. I don't really believe that.
But that's two of his best players that Celtic have had in a number of years that I really want to go out the door. And I'm thinking there's something just not right there at this moment in time.
Well, you look at Kuhn wanted to go as well.
Aye, there's something not right.
I know he went. Kuhn was want to leave as well. So,
but I think that'll be for another night. Once Rangers get a manager in the door, we'll just set the dust will settle on that, and then we can get the wool set for the other side of the town.
Yeah. So just quickly to finish off, then now we've done the Old Firm and obviously anything else, but we'll not bother with the results because obviously we have a next week we can do that anyway. But last night, Scotland, a disappointing performance, but 3-1 victory over Greece in conjunction with a Danish 6-0 victory as well, means that Scotland, if they can get a victory on Tuesday night, Sunday, sorry, I'm saying Tuesday, on Sunday night, and the Danes can beat the Greeks, that Scotland are guaranteed at least a playoff spot for World Cup qualifying, you know. So the thing is, I think you'd take the victory over the performance, Shug. You know, I've heard a few people this morning saying, "Oh no, but it was a poor game and we didn't do this and we didn't do that." You'll take the victory, you know, and I'm quite sure Steve Clark's only interested in the points in the bag, irrespective of how that came.
Well, it goes down in the history books as a 3-1 victory.
3-1 win, yeah.
It doesn't say underneath it they were wearing, I don't know, Robin Hood masks, because that was a deliberate robbery for that. I mean, the Greek team must be
it's like my golf shots. It's like my golf shots. When it lands in the green, nobody's got a clue except me how many balls I've hit up there. And I think that in a lot of ways is how you could sum up the Scotland result.
Aye, they just the Greek team must have been sitting there at full time going, "Did we win that game or did we get beat?" Because it was. And Lyndon Dykes, how he actually scored that, I'll never know. I thought that was over the bar.
The odd one.
Well, listen, the thing is that was a breath of fresh air, him coming on. I like him as a fan, especially when he works, and he worked hard, because if he hadn't been working hard, he wouldn't have got to that ball.
Yeah. Him and Gilmore made a difference last night.
Sorry?
Gilmore made a difference as well.
Yeah. I can't understand why he continues with a centre forward that is a bit like what Rangers have signed for 8 million. It just doesn't seem to actually do anything, Adams. I just can't get it. When Dykes come on, he headers the ball better, he holds the ball up better. Adams doesn't do that, and I actually seen it last night. He waited in the ball coming up, and the central defender nipped in front of him. That is criminal at that level. You should never have a centre half nip in front of you and take the ball away from you. And I'm thinking, you're that static, son. You shouldn't be pulling a Scotland jersey on. And that worries me, that he can't see through that, and he has to wait until it's like the last throw of the dice, because we're making absolutely no impression on them whatsoever, and he puts Dykes on. And I thought that made a great difference. And what I can say is how the game could have changed. At 2-1, the goalkeeper pulled off a world-class save. Absolutely world-class. When he tipped it around the post of the bar. I don't know if you can remember it. The boy swung it in, and it was going up into the top corner, and he just tips it away. Absolutely world class. Now, if that goes in, it's 2 each. Instead of that, we get a break of the ball, goes up the park, and their goalkeeper throws it out to Dykes. He actually goes down, it comes off his hand, and Dykes going around it. So I looked at it last night and thought, yeah, we didn't have a lot of the play, but it was 2 goalkeepers that made a big difference in that.
Yeah.
It was 3 points. And to be honest, the first half at least was like watching paint dry. It really was poor, and can't take much from it. But I'll tell you what, I will take a 3-1 victory any day of the week, no matter how you play. Especially if it gets us to the World Cup.
Well, that's as you say, is if the Danes beat them in the next few days or so, it doesn't really matter what happens over there when we play Greece. But it doesn't matter.
By the way, I'll say something. I'm normally criticising the teams that either Celtic or Rangers come up with in Europe, and in Scotland's case, the same. We've still Belarus to play.
I says that last night. I says we'll move. But you know, you says it's morning as well, Cammy.
Yeah.
Says we'll make a messy Sunday.
Aye, that's that exactly. You know, well, that says it was Tuesday, so I will definitely make a mess of that one. But no, I mean that's the thing. It's they've done well so far in qualifying. They certainly have done, you know, in terms of the results that they've had so far. And you're looking at the Danes beating Greece. If they can do that, and if we can go and get a result against Belarus, then we're guaranteed at least a playoff spot already, you know, with games to play.
Greece are a good team, by the way.
Listen,
very good
bear in mind they beat us 6 months ago. You know, they got us at Hampden a few months back. So, yeah, they're a decent side.
The players in their squad. I mean, there are no mugs in that team.
No, I watched them last night, and I thought, by the way, we could get a kick in here. But give Scotland their due. They tightened it up, and I don't think we were lucky at the end of the day. I think we'd done enough that basically we deserved the win. It wasn't great or attractive football, but who cares if we're going to get to the World Cup?
No, well, that's just you're looking at the Danes to do us a favour and take care of business yourself, you know. And if you can get you can get guaranteed that playoff spot, and then that gives you a shout with whoever you play.
Yeah.
but you're still in with a shout, obviously, winning the table as well. You know, if you can take care of results in your next 3 games. So,
I think
yeah, we shall see what happens.
The Danes will want to finish that, so they don't need to worry about the league position. They could just play so they're there, so it takes pressure off them as well.
Yeah, indeed. You know, but the league's still there to be won. But here, at least if we can guarantee a playoff spot, it's something, you know, and it keeps the Scottish fans' expectations and hopes up there as well. So anyway, that'll do us for tonight. I think that's pushing towards 90 minutes, you know, but I think we'll call it as it is there just now. Thanks very much, Hugh, for coming on. As I say, we were getting you on last week and my internet died and chucked it and whatever else, you know, but as I say, I'm blaming Storm Amy and not the fact that I hadn't paid Virgin. So thanks very much, Shug, for coming on tonight, mate. I definitely appreciate it. You know, I mean, really appreciate it. And good to get your insight into Motherwell, which is stuff we normally wouldn't get. As well, Dennis, thanks very much as always. Apologies you never got a night out last week, but as I say, the Storm took care of that as well.
Yeah, it's good. Good.
She's a bloody bitch, so she was, but never mind. Anyway, you have been listening to The Football Pitch live on YouTube. Go ahead, like, subscribe to the show, tell your pals. Let's work on that YouTube algorithm, see if we can get a few more folk listening. As it is, we shall catch up with you next week. It is always happening on the pitch. Good night.
Good night.